This is for Rachel, you big, fat, white, nasty, smelling, fat bitch. Why you took me off the motherfucking schedule with your trifling, dirty, white, racist ass, you big, fat bitch, oompa loompa body ass bitch. I'm coming up there and I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you.
Hey you guys, welcome to the C is for class, and as you can see I have a special guest, Jaden, and we are about to have a little key, okay? We're gonna talk about everything with the LGBTQ community because a lot of stuff happened at the end of the year that I couldn't get to. But we're gonna get to it now. We're gonna call this LGBT tea time. That's corny, but we're gonna go for it.
There you go.
So let's get up in this gig. So the first thing I want to talk about was interracial dating in the gay community. So I've been reading a lot, and some people think that there's like, I guess this narrative that successful black men have to get like white partners in order to be like mainstream. How do you feel about that?
I mean, honestly, personally, I really don't have that much of a preference when it comes to race. I do understand like a lot of people, particularly black people, like to mix it up a bit. So they're kind of like, oh, you know, I'm not really, you know, like leaning towards getting another black man because I know like what all black men have to offer. So I need to taste something a little bit soother and a little bit, you know, like a different, it's kind of like trying a new food. Like you gotta just like try it out before you like it or not. But me personally, I don't mind. Like, you can be black, white, yellow, whatever. Doesn't matter. As long as you're a good person and as long as you're attractive.
Okay. And when it comes to like interracial dating, have you encountered any like fetishizing or like your race or background?
Yes. So I realized like from hooking up and from dating, like a lot of people, especially people that are not black, expect black people to have a certain size. So it's just like there's that, and like so that being said, like a lot of people come with the expectation of am I gonna have or uphold that, you know, stigma or not. And as a person that's not necessarily a top, but I consider myself as like maybe a verse or a bottom, keep that in mind. I would not want to partake in any of that, like, or like just like that kind of thing, but like that's what other people kind of expect of me. Yes, I do like me personally, I do fetishize about like if I do encounter someone that's not of a black background, like you're gonna have to have some kind of special, you know, ordeal before I indulge.
Yeah.
While that might be not be true for somebody else, but it doesn't. Like I said, it doesn't matter to me.
I also feel like apps like Jack and Grindr are kind of like, they're like pressure cookers for that type of behavior, because for some reason people just don't know how to act when they're behind the screen. Like if the first
let me see your big black dick that is not a conversation starter, at all.
I've gotten a lot of weird, like I remember this one guy and he put like a 7-step plan. So he was like, number 1, I come over, number 2, we do this, number 3, we do that, I nut, I leave. I was like, number 8, you get blocked.
Yeah.
You get blocked. We're not getting to the steps because like, what did you think you were doing? And then I've had a lot of older white men, I'm talking like 50s, 60s, like message me, talk about some, hey, I'm looking for a sugar baby. I will pay you $500 a week.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because I've had like legit, like ever since like maybe like I would say July, a good like time frame of people just like messaging me like, hey, I'm looking for a sugar daddy. If you're a kid, like I can even like if I where's my phone at? I can actually it might not be. I still have Grindr, so don't judge me. I might have deleted it, but I have had like people like texting me like, and sometimes with like a fish profile, they're like, hey, I'm looking for a sugar baby, like hit me up on Kick or something. They give me this username. One time I did kind of fall through with that, and they're like, oh, you know, I'm here to offer you this and that, and like I can pay your bills and whatever. I'm like, I'm 19, 1, so I really don't have any bills besides my phone bill, thankfully. 2, like, how are you gonna pay my bills? Like, are you gonna give me money to pay the bills? Because like, I don't see how that's gonna work if the bills are addressed to me. And so then, and like, so this person like texts me back. They're like, oh, well, I can send you this much amount per month. Like, how much do you want per month? And I give them a figure like 300, maybe. And then they're like, okay, well, I'll need your bank information. I'm like,
Block.
No.
I'm like, no. So like, if y'all are out there and if y'all like experience that, like immediately like press that block button, because a lot of times a lot of people get fooled and you get scammed and then you just get into all that weird, and then you don't really know what to do about it. So just kind of be aware of that.
I've had those instances before. Well, one, I'm not doing it. Two, Kick. I was on Kick freshman year of high school. Like, we were on Kick talking about nothing really, because we had nothing to talk about with school. So I don't know why these old men are like, why are you on Kick? Like, anybody who's on Kick is probably like way out of date, or
you know, and
14.
I think I researched this a little bit because I was kind of curious. I was like, I wonder how people get, like, what people get out of this. Like, I know the bank information and whatever, but like, why do people use Kick and stuff in there? And I think I realized that like you can create a fake profile. It can be anonymous. It's not necessarily like you have to provide your legal information, legal name, all that. You can make up anything, and like you won't get caught as easily. So I think that might be why. But a part of me, I don't know. It's just so weird. And like I realized that like sugar daddies target gay people so much more often than they do straight. Like I don't. Like I've talked to like maybe 4 or 5 people like during like my transition from high school to college, and they're like, why are these like older men like hooking, like they're like calling me, texting me, they're like, hey, or emailing me, saying like, hey, you know, I'm looking for a sugar baby, like hit me up, do this and that. And I'm like, I'm wondering, are they like are they trying to like capture us as like prey because they think that like it's easier for us to fall for what they're doing? And like, what can we like as a gay community kind of do about that? Like, how can we combat that?
I just think they're predators, and I think they go for young men, particularly young men who are, I guess, from a lower demographic, who don't have that much money. And like, when you're giving someone money, you're paying their bills, like you have power over them. Also, just like I found out, like when dating older people, like they tend to like gaslight you.
Yeah.
So the moment that you call them out on like toxic tendencies or disrespectful behavior, you're childish, you're young, you're immature, you don't understand. And I think it also did a part of like the fetishizing part. Have you heard of Timothy Dean? And the fact that a second gay black man has been found dead at his mansion, and it's been recorded that he's like paying these gay black men as escorts, he's shooting them up with drugs, and they are dying. And nobody's saying anything. They're finally investigating, but also with the R. Kelly thing, like when black and brown people speak out about sexual violence or sexual assault, nobody really pays attention. So if you get somebody who nobody quote unquote cares about or isn't paying attention to or aren't gonna like focus on, you can do about anything.
The problem is in this society, and like I really do wish that we can move on from this, but sadly we can't. It's either you're black or you're gay or you're both. If you are a person of color and you have experienced or are a victim of something, it doesn't matter how small it can be, you are not going to get noticed. If you're gay and you experience, like, say, a bashing, or like, you know, you're experiencing like a hitchhike of homophobia, like everywhere coming at you, nobody's going to pay attention. Why? Because you're gay, or why? Because you're black. So like, I really wish as a society, as a democratic society, we can move on from that. But sadly, because our like country is like so Christian-esque, I can go hours about this, but like because it's so like Christian-esque, conservative views, you know, we tend to think that like if you're not white, heterosexual, male or female, then or Christian, then you're like an outsider. And that's something that we need to work on.
And I think that also ties into part like intersectionality and how important that is, because I don't really like getting into the basement and talking about you're black before you're gay, or you're gay before you're black. I mean, people are gonna do what they wanna do. You can say what you wanna say. How you feel is how you feel. But me personally, I don't feel the need to choose between the two identities, because I cannot walk into a room twice. Right. I am gay and black at the same time. I've always been, like, it's not turning one off and turning on the other. And I think it's just also not having to compromise an identity for certain spaces. Did you see Mr. Francois when he came to campus?
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who don't know, Mr. Francois, he played Officer Clemens on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He's an amazing man, wonderful singer, as openly gay. However, when he was on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he was told specifically by Mr. Roger that he could not come out as gay. And if he came out as gay, then he was fired. And that was it. And like I know he told a story about how he went to the gay club and then Mr. Rogers found out and was like, you can't go there anymore. And basically he had to make the decision between being this positive black figure, like a lot of black people who watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and grew up on it were saying, like, you're the reason why I want to become a police officer, like you were like a real inspiration to me. So choosing between being this prominent black figure and children's television and then living his truth. And ultimately he had to sacrifice a lot of things, being in the closet for 40 years, which is something that I personally couldn't do. I couldn't do that.
It's been a pain just being in the closet for 1 year. Like I could not imagine being a person that has to hide a part of my identity based on like outside factors, based on like my family, based on like what they think of. Like I just can't. I'm sorry, but in that light, I do respect Mr. Francois because, you know, even though he faced so many years of like discrimination and like homophobia and like you can't do this, you can't be like you can't be that. He's earned the honorary degree. Like that man is like so successful
Working.
and like he's getting it. Like he's like becoming. I'm trying to think of the word. He's becoming a figure that we all as like gay black men can look up to, especially here in like. I wish people can really kind of just recognize how important this man is in terms of is like being gay and black a hinderer or is it a promoter in terms of am I as equal to the white heterosexual male female? Like I don't know, it's just it hit me like when I was doing like I was in convocation, and for those of you that don't know, but like that convocation is like something that we go through as a school, like to confer like members of the order or like to pull in like a new chancellor into the university. It's one of our traditions here. And anyway, and so when I was sitting there, I was listening to this person like give like a biography of like his life, basically. I'm like, isn't this man gay? Like what? I was like, whoa. And I like talked to somebody next to me who's awesome anyway. He was like, yeah, Francois, yeah, he's gay. Did you not know that? I was like, oh my god, and he's getting the honorary degree. Like that was so amazing. That was touching to me, and like that kind of inspired me to continue my education and to continue pursuing the things that I want to pursue, despite like the backlashes that I would get later on in life and even now.
And life is just too short to like I choose to live my life out loud just because like you live for yourself. And like I know a lot of people can't do that because, you know, family, not wanting to be disowned. But my view is like if people really love you, they're gonna be there for you. And I feel like that really shows the difference between conditional and unconditional love. Because, you know, unconditional love is, you know, I'm love you regardless of whatever you do. Like nothing that happens or nothing that you become will ever change that. And that conditional love is just like, well, if you're this way, I don't love you, or if you're this way, I can't accept you. What is your feeling on the term love, hate the sin, love the sinner? Because I personally find it problematic, but I'm curious what your point of view is.
I find it hypocritical because as a Christian, and I will say as a person that was raised in a very Baptist conservative church, a black church, a black church is black. I was just tossed around with like, love thy neighbor as yourself, and if you judge somebody, just know that you're gonna be judged when you face God at the end, like, or like, you know, the end times, or like when you die, whatever, what have you. And like they preach that every single Sunday, and they tell you like, you know, you're supposed to like show like God's light and Jesus' light every time you walk, every time you talk to somebody, every time you speak. But at the same time, like a lot of these people are faking it. They're like, they have this facade of being the most perfect Christian and like they're like the holier than thou type deal. But when, you know, when someone finds out like, oh my God, you're gay, you are going to hell. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this person that I'm talking to could be like a murderer. But you know, you can turn back, like you can repent and like ask God for forgiveness, this and that and the other. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, so when you divorce somebody, isn't that a sin? Like, isn't that obedient in the eyes of the Lord, like according to the Old Testament, according to Deuteronomy? And I know my scriptures. But yeah, being Baptist and everything. But anyway, and they're like, well, it doesn't matter, you know, I can blah, 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 blah. I'm like, and then my other argument is, don't you eat pork? I eat bacon. I don't know about you, but I eat hella bacon. I eat like, you know, I eat the grits and the eggs. I ain't bacon this morning. Like, come on now. Like,
I mix lemons.
Like, you cannot be, yeah, exactly. You cannot be black and not eat bacon. If y'all eat bacon, I'm sorry. Missing out. Anyway, but like I'm just like, don't you indulge in all these types of? Don't you lie? Like, don't you like haven't you ever like coveted against like your partner? Like, I don't understand. And like they're like, oh, it's an unforgivable sin. I'm like, let's think about this for a minute. If it's unforgivable, why are you telling me that Jesus can forgive me? What? So like answer me that, like, and they're just like puzzled at that point. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, that's fine. I'm just gonna live my life, and Jesus gonna love me anyway. So it's fine. So to answer your question, like, yes, it is problematic. Yes, it is hypocritical. No, it does not faze me.
Because my idea is like, if you don't accept someone, you don't truly love them.
Right.
And it's like, it doesn't like someone being gay doesn't change who they are on the inside. Like, it's like we were just talking yesterday. Now this one thing like you don't want to deal with me. So I just see it as just like an excuse to like excuse your homophobia. And I think this ties into like a bigger part that like, especially when people not only with just like homophobia but transphobia and racism. I think people think that if they're not actively outside like beating gays up or killing minorities or abusing trans people, that they're not transphobic. And like, no, that's not it. Like, simply not putting your hands on somebody is not making you not out of that group. I think people don't realize that like the narratives that you push, the words that you say, you're still problematic. Like, you're not just clean and free. So I think people say hate the sin, love the sinner as like a way of saying, well, you know what, I'm not as bad. I'm not those homophobes. Like, I'm not holding the cross. I'm not outside with the God hates fag sign. Like, you know what, I'm still talking to you. So I'm lucky that I'm doing this. And it's just, those are just moments that I just like really have to take a step back and like look. And I've had so many. I remember I was in church when I was younger, and this lady, I don't even remember her name, but she was singing a church solo. You know, she's one of those people who like, she just sounds really good. So like they let her do the solos all the time. Like, she's just singing them all the time. So she finished her solo, and then she starts freestyling, and she's like, Jesus, please cleanse the world of hunger, cleanse the world of sin, cleanse the world of hate, this, that, and the third. And then she says, cleanse the world of homosexuality. I was like, girl, you done ruined church for me. I'm here, I'm in the pew, I went to Sunday school, I got up at 8 o'clock, and you done ruined it for me. So now my spirit is tested in this pew. I'm not feeling too good right now. Yeah. I'm like, you know, let me just let it go. And I also remember when I was younger, the summer before I went to high school, and I went to New York. And my grandparents took me to New York. I was on like a tour bus with like a bunch of elderly people. Like, I was the only child there. And on our way out of New York, we got stuck in traffic because it's New York. And on the side of the road was a gay club. And all you see on the street is just a huge line of gay men, lesbians, trans people all holding hands. And all I can hear is all the old people like, oh
my God, that's so disgusting. Ew, oh my God, it's so sinful.
And I'm just like, wow. And then I think me and my grandparents had to talk about it. And I was like, you know what? Like, why are people like looking at them like that? Because I was still coming to terms with the fact that I was gay. Because it took me a while to come to terms. Because I tried to like, you know, pray the gay away. I kept a Bible underneath my bed, underneath my pillow for like weeks to try to like get it away. I prayed it. Didn't work, obviously. So here we are. Yeah. And my grandmother was just like, you know, it's wrong. It's like, it says it's in the Bible. And like, my grandfather, he tried to like be sweeter about it. And he was like, you know what, Cameron, I didn't say that the Bible says that. You know, I didn't make the rules. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, it just didn't make me feel good. And I just think it's so crazy when people try to say that like gay men are the destruction of the gay community, the black family. Black gay men are the destruction of the black family. that they're putting hormones in the food to feminize black men. And
Oh my god. Oh my goodness. You just reminded me of something. Oh my god. Okay, about 3 years ago, this is Thanksgiving, so this is like a big deal. Like everybody, my family is huge. Like everybody and their mom just come all the way from Houston just into my mom's house. And so we were cooking dinner and everything, and the one question that I get all the time.
So, what's your love life like? Do you have a girlfriend? You know, like, when are we gonna meet her? And I'm
Like, at first I was like, I'm single. Like, I don't have time for that. And then like I just progressed to saying like, oh, I'm not looking right now, and then I progressed to like, I'm looking at somebody right now, and like we'll see. We're on the first name basis, so we'll get to, and you know, and then I just realized like I just got so sick of it till one day I was just like, you know what if that her was a he? Like, what would your reaction be? So I just like hypothetically just like asked that question. I'm just like, that's such, why would you even ask that question? And I was like, what if, like, I'm just like asking, like, this is a hypothetical question. And she's like, well, honey, are you gay? Like, I'm sorry, but like, you know, like, you should go to church a little bit more often. And I'm like, you should too. Oh my God, I go to church every day. I don't see you on the other side of the pew. And and like, I hate it when I'm interrogated about my dating life. That's one. Two, that's like privacy. And three, like, don't come at me saying that, you know, I need to go to church and even if I do, like, I'm still gonna be gay. Like, I was born gay. I'm gay right now. I will be gay until the day I hit that 6 foot ground. So it's just like, it really bothers me that people expect a lot in terms of like masculinity, in terms of like being a man, in terms of being black, in terms of being being straight. Like, it's like people always preach like, you know, you're free to do whatever you want, be whatever you want to be, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, it's like so many divisions, so many limits to who you can be. And like, if you choose like to adhere to these limits, how far are you willing to go? Be
who you want to be, as long as it's in the realm that I'm comfortable with and something that's palatable to me.
Correct. I will love you and I will unconditionally love you, but there's that big but. You have to be straight. Like, you have to be this ideal type of person, because otherwise I won't eat with you, I won't talk to you, like, I won't respect you, I won't do this and that and the other. And I'm like sitting back, I'm like wondering, does my gayness disturb you? If that's the case, you need to exit my life. Have certain reservations about me because of who I am. Like, don't come at me. Like, don't like expect anything coming from me because you treat me a certain way. I'm willing to go through the pain because at the end of the day, like I said, I will be gay. Like, it's just a part of me. It's my identity, and you know, if you like it, so be it. If you don't, so be it. Like,
we in the black community gotta stop thinking that, you know, church is the end all be all, because like, let's be honest, like, your son goes to church every Sunday and child support is still not being paid. You know, your other son is still slinging drugs and he's in church at Sunday school. Like, we gotta stop. Like, there have been priests who have touched children. Like, let's not act like people have not been in church.
And not only that, even like, I've heard like a lot of stories about priests, you know, touching other men. Like, they go through these same practices, but yet they're willing to get up every Sunday or Wednesday or both, what have you, and preach like that famous verse, Leviticus, or like Deuteronomy or whatever, and they still do the same things. And so I'm like, why would you have the gut? Like, how could you have the guts to come up and like preach to a congregation and just say these type of things, and you practice them kind of like every day? Like, I don't understand. Like, that's puzzling to me.
That's why I respect any gay person who like can stick to their religion, still goes to church every Sunday. Like, I have masses of respect. I'm still religious. I believe in God and stuff. the Bible was kind of just throwing me off. I just believe that God wants us to live our lives and love each other, and He doesn't care if you're gay, straight, black, or white. He just wants you to live your life, be respectful to one another. That's my philosophy. So I'm kind of like, I say, like a Christian spiritualist. I still believe in God. I still pray. I still say my grace before I eat. It's just the Bible. There's just the Bible has been weaponized against me so many times that it's just too much.
And I have to say the same for myself. And I really consider myself not being religious, but being spiritual. And there's a difference. Like, if you, despite all this dogmatic, like, talk about, like, you must do this, you must do that, and all this, like, Old Testament-esque stuff, if you believe that Jesus, you know, died on the cross, etc., and you believe that, and you believe that He's your Lord and Savior, and you believe, like, you have this utmost faith, and you have this love that he showed while He was on earth, then there you go. And, like, despite, like, what other people might seem like if you're different than anybody else, you should still treat them the same. Why? Because you share the same soil, like, on this earth. Like, you're here, you're gonna die with them. Like, it's just so for me, yes, I'm a Christian. Yes, I read the Bible. While I do not agree with some parts of the Bible, that's just who I am, and I hope to this day.
I think people get real touchy, like, not to get too personal, but I don't have a best relationship with my father. I'm actually not speaking to him anymore. Actually, I saw him over winter break, and we exchanged word. Well, over the summer we had spoken, and I just called him out not being a consistent parent, and then he proceeded to say that I need to get over my issues, and I was like, well, that's not how abandonment works. Basically, when I first came out to my father, he was like,
I accept you, I still love you. Had you said this like a few years ago, I probably wouldn't feel this way.
Well, because I was calling him out on being an absentee parent, he then proceeded to say, you're an embarrassment to God. So that told me that, one, you're not saying this because you're saying this because you really feel this way, or you're saying this to just hurt me. So then I saw him over winter break, and we exchanged words, and then he threatened my life twice. But then he goes, you still think you can make babies with boys, which is just so false. So false. Never said that. I know anatomy, I've taken some sex ed class.
Last time I checked, as long as we, have certain organs in our bodies, we're still men.
And that's just this misconception of gay black men are gonna like bring the black population down. The population is doing fine. And then they say this, but then gay couples adopt, and it's like, well, gay people are technically helping the population by adopting children that have been given away by their biological parents. So thus, increasing the survival rate of these children, making it to adulthood. So they're still helping it. Like, gay people are not. We're not
an exception.
We're not.
And I can speak a little bit too about being in the system, being adopted, etc. My biological mother gave me up when I was 8 months old, and she took me to CPS. And according to her, when I talked to her years later, she said, she was like, well, at first I just thought about leaving you right next to a garbage disposal, and then she proceeded to go, take me to the CPS that was nearby, and they didn't know what to do with me. Like, we're just gonna put you in like since I was 8 months, like they were just gonna put me with someone temporarily, what have you. And so from hence until when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I was just tossed to different foster care systems, just random foster care homes around Houston, and I was just tossed like a toy. And it to this day it scars me, but I refuse to kind of let that bring me down. And when I was 4, my now paternal mother came and got me. She adopted me, and she took care of me, but she was still kind of in that void of what should I do with this child? And so she raised me until 16. At 16, she started having doubts about is this really my child? Why is he going through all these changes, and why is he doubting his own sexuality? Why is he not this this normal boy? Why doesn't he play with other boys outside? Why doesn't he communicate with other boys? Like, why does he have to like go around and be around girls, etc.? And she had a conversation with me one day, and that's kind of when I came out to her, and I told her, I was like, hey mom, I'm gay, like, you know. And she told me, she was like, well, no, you're not, like, you're straight, you're just going through a phase, it'll be fine, like, I'm gonna take
confused.
you, yeah, or confused, etc. And like, but basically like a week later, she took me to a facility where basically, I at the time, like, I didn't even know like what it was. I thought it was just like a normal like therapy session that we just had like just went through. But she took me to like this therapy whatever, and this therapist came up to me, and she asked me, she was like, Jaden, like, are you okay? Like, do you like why do you think you're gay, and like why do you think you like men other than like and not women? And I told her, I was like, why do you like men and not women? And she was puzzled, and she said, well, because like I'm straight and like I'm supposed to. And I'm like, since when? Like, was it in the bylaws when you was born? Like, did they give you a handbook that you were supposed to follow? And she told me, she was like, well, you know, it's a sin, and you know, you have to get over it. I'm like, honey, it's a sin to like just be what you are right now. Like, just disrespect, like just blatant disrespect to these young men that are like going through a really difficult time, and you're giving them a more difficult time. And I had these like just like abnormal sessions, but like I was real and I was mature at that point. And so like I got up to her level. I was like, you know what? Look, we can cancel all these sessions. My mama don't have to spend no more money because, you know, it ain't gonna change. I'm not gonna change. And you know, she was like, okay, it's fine, but you know, you just know it's a sin. I'm like, okay, just know that, you know, what you're doing is bad, and you should stop, and you should get another job if you can. and so like and it just occurred to me like a couple years later. This was like last week actually. When I started taking intro to the LGBT studies class here, and I talked to Dr. Schneider, and she said, well, Jaden, like what you went through, that was conversion therapy. That was what it was. It may be in like a very light form compared to what we see in the movies, but that was it. And a part of me was just like bawling out in tears. Like, I was like, what? Did I just like go through that and survive? Another part of me was just like, oh my God, like these people are just ridiculous.
And speaking of conversion therapy, today I saw an article came out that the leading conversion therapist divorced his wife and came out as gay.
If that isn't the fucking gag of the fucking we don't want him.
I want to fight him. I
want to lay him out. Like, the one thing that we need to do first is get over this stigma of like gay men are lesser than straight men or straight women. What happened?
Stop wearing our clothes. Stop buying from gay designers.
You know.
Stop using the lingo. Okay? Let's not do that. And you know, America is just. Let me get this straight before I say what I'm about to say. Because I love America, you know? I was born here. I like it here. I like to travel. I do like to travel. I can't see myself living in another place in the world right now. Maybe England, because I went to England. England was real nice. But America is a joke. It's literally called Land of the Free, Home of the Brave. This is stolen property. Native Americans. So anything after that is just invalid. But it's just, no. You know, when you were telling your story about the conversion therapy, it made me think of like a lot of gay youth who like don't know what's going on, like they're going through the changes, not only just like coming to terms of being gay, but like hormones and puberty, and I think there's a huge lack of like sexual education for LGBTQ sexual education, because I did not get that education. So can I ask, like, how did you find out like LGBTQ sexual education, like good health practices?
I like to think of it as trial, error, trial. It's like Sometimes I really hate to say that because a lot of people might misconstrue that and say like, did you practice unsafe sex? ? And I'm like, honey, no, I know how to use a condom and I know where to put it. Like, it's just whatever. And I know to hand my partner one if they don't have one. And again, it depends on the type of condom, it might break. Anyway, but I'm just like, if you are curious about what it is, it doesn't matter if it be like puberty, like if you're going through puberty, going through these transitions and going through like questioning yourself and like really trying to experience or like get into what you think you might otherwise miss out on, or like want to experience in the future, or want to get ready for something that might happen or will happen in the future, do it. Like, just like, I'm not saying I'm not like going out to say like download the Grindr app, just like hit that, like tap that person, that one person that may not look ugly or whatever, just to have sex, just to have it, and don't matter if you have a condom. I'm not saying that, because let me tell you, these men, no matter how old you are, they carry all sorts of types of diseases, sexually transmitted diseases, and that's a no.
And for the girls out there, PrEP is for HIV, not STDs. So if you are on PrEP and you are just going out there raw dogging whoever, you can still get chlamydia, gonorrhea, herpes, and all that other stuff.
And not even just sex behind that, like in that area, like oral sex too. I know people that have willingly sought out, getting the disease, getting HIV, getting this is called bug chasing.
Please explain that to me.
So bug chasing is like, it's a term to use like to describe someone who